Okay, with this tutorial, this is hopefully what I'm going to end up with. It's called the Transform Again, and it's simply creating some simple shapes, adding a pattern to it, or a brush, pardon me, and then transforming it several times. So I'm just going to look at my layers, and I'm just going to delete everything. Now, my background layer is simply the rectangle tool filled with a color. I can't change the stage colors, but I can fill a layer with a rectangle. But in this case, what we're going to do right now is we're going to create an ellipse, and the ellipse is going to have, I'm just going to start with a black stroke. And I'll start with something about that size right there. And then I'm going to select this line segment, but I have to deselect it first and then just click between where I think those 2 points are. Now I'm going to get that handle and that handle, which is a good indication of that I've selected the line segment. So I'm just going to hit delete, and I'll create a semicircle, 3/4 of a circle. Then the next thing I'm going to do is just change my stroke color to a dark brown, something like that. There we go. And I even think I'm going to move this down just a little bit like that. The next step is to duplicate and scale this. So I can go to Object, Transform, and Scale. And I'm going to scale this about 120%. And I'm going to copy it. You can see now I've got 2 strokes right here. If you only have one and you've clicked copy, it means that you have a fill, and that fill is hiding the first stroke. So make sure that you didn't start with a fill when you created your circle. Now it's a simple matter of doing Control D or Object, Transform, and Transform Again. It's going to do the same copy and scale at 120%. There we go. So I'll do that a few times until I get a decent shape. And then I'll deselect everything. I'm going to go in, select the first circle or semicircle, and I'm going to go to Object, Transform, and this time I'm going to go to Rotate. And I'm going to rotate it 15 degrees is pretty good. I'm not going to copy. I'm going to click OK. And then I'll select the next path, and I'll do a Control D twice. And then Control D 3 times. Select the next one. Control D 4 times. 5 times. And 6 times. Like so. And this one is a single point. So I'm going to go to the second one and increase that to 2 points. 3 points, 4 points, 5 points, and 6 points. Like so. That's not too bad. So there's my first Transform Again. The cool thing is I can go in here and I can go to Object, Path, Outline Stroke, and then I can add a stroke around those shapes that were once strokes themselves. I'm going to do Control Z because I'm not going to do that right now. I'm just going to leave it like that. The other one I can work with is similar kind of thing, except I'm going to make it just a little bit bigger to start with. Select my direct selection tool, deselect, select that line segment there, and hit delete. Now this time I want a dotted line. a dotted line. I can't really get that. I can get a dashed line, but I can't get a dotted line. So I'm going to have to go back and create a brush. And it's a simple matter of creating a circle, and I'm going to fill it with black, no stroke, and let me see what that looks like. That's a little bit small, so I'm going to bump this up. Let's try 20 and 20. Now that's a little bit too big. Let's go back to 15. Oops. And 15, we'll see what that does. That's a little bit bigger, a little bit better, pardon me. I'm going to drag it into my brush palette, and I'm going to make a pattern brush this time. Before you've made art brush, but this time it's a pattern brush, and I'm going to click OK. Now I can scale this, so if this, I realize that this is too big or too small, I can scale it, but I can also add spacing, and I'm going to change this to 100%. So that means that it's going to create a dot and then another dot on my path, and it's going to place 100% width between each of those dots, which I'm okay with now. So I'm going to stick with 100% spacing, and I'm going to click approximate path, and click OK. There we go. So there's my brush right there that I created. And I need to select my path. Not too bad. I'm just going to tweak that. Whoops, I don't mind that at all. I think I'll stick with that. Now, if I do the same thing, if I do an object transform, and I go to scale, and I'm going to go to 130% this time, and I go to copy, you'll notice that it's adding another one in there because this path is a little bit larger. And I like how it's coming straight across here, but I don't like what's happening here. So what I need to do with this one is, again, break it apart. I'm going to go to Object and Expand Appearance. And when I expand the appearance on this one, you'll notice that I'm going to get a whole bunch of separate sublayers. So each one of these is a different object. And I'm just going to select a couple of them. Maybe that one right there. And I'm going to change, actually, I'm going to change all of them to dark brown. And then I'm going to change maybe that one right there to a blue. Well, that's good. And I'm going to change, I'll change that one right there to blue as well. Yeah, there we go. So now I'm going to go up to Object Transform, and I'm going to go to Scale 130%, and I'll copy. 130% is not big enough, so let's go with 150%. There we go. And Control D, Control D. You see how it's being pulled out now along the same line? It's not trying to stretch it or pull it across like that. Not too bad. I don't mind that at all. So there's another kind of transform for you. And I'm just going to throw it off the stage a little bit. I'm going to select this group right here. I should do a Control G and group them. And I'm just going to scale this up as well. And I'm just going to I'm going to just move it off the stage a little bit. There we go. So there's my two transforms. Transform again.